If you're interested in starting a brand new business or simply just adding to the cash flow of your existing business in 2023, you're going to want to stick around throughout this entire video because I'm going to be sharing with you some of the most boring yet best business ideas you can start in 2023. But first, I need to explain what I mean by boring yet best. When I refer to the word boring in the context of businesses, I'm not talking about something that's a total snooze fest. No, I'm talking about the types of businesses that generate consistent profit on a daily basis, but they may not be all that flashy. At the end of the day, your bank account doesn't care if it's flashy or not. So I want you to learn from the opportunities that are at your fingertip. 2023 is filled with headlines. Headlines like recession and depression. And that puts a lot of fear into the hearts of most entrepreneurs. But I don't want you to be like most entrepreneurs. I want you to be someone who's poised for success. And the best way to get poised, find the information that you can put into action today. Now, for a very first boring business idea, I need to add a little context. In the United States, each and every year, the United States Census Bureau tells us that 4 million new small businesses are created. The really interesting part to understand is that by year 5, nearly half of those businesses have failed. And by year 10, almost 80% of all new businesses that have been started have failed. I don't want you to go the way of the dodo bird. When starting a new business, I want you to start businesses that can stand the test of time. And that brings us to laundromats. No Google search. If you're trying to go into Google and say, what are the best businesses to start in 2023? No Google search would be complete without having laundromats on the list. Why? Because laundromats create consistent revenue. Even in challenging economic times, most people want to make sure that their clothes smell and look nice. And the other benefit of a laundromat is that the overhead is actually so very low. You don't have to have a huge labor force in order to own and operate a laundromat. It's basically checking to make sure the machines are working correctly, making sure the facility is reasonably clean, and third, that all of the money that's coming in from those machines is being consistently deposited into your checking account right where you want it. And here is an added bonus point. Laundromats have a nearly 95% success rate by year 10. In order to talk about the beginnings of this next boring business, I'd have to take you way back to the early 1800s. That's when vending machines actually got started. Vending machines have been able to stand the test of time because they're very low cost to get started, they're very low cost to maintain and operate on a monthly basis, and 3, they are very consistent with regard to the cash flow that they can generate. I've heard stories where individuals can actually get started in vending machines for as low as about $2,000 to acquire a used vending machine. And I've also heard situations where individual vending machine owners, a single machine could generate more than $10,000 per month. That's cash flow that every entrepreneur would love to have. In order to talk about the next boring business, I need to fill you in on some research. When I heard these numbers, I was floored. According to Grand View Research, the US market size for the car wash industry is more than $14 billion. And when you look at their numbers, they're estimating that the growth rate of that industry is nearly 5% per year for the next decade. When I did some more research into it, it looks like the profit in this environment is also pretty juicy. When you're looking at the small side of the spectrum, the self-service type car washes, profit can range anywhere from $50,000 to a little bit more than $100,000 a year on average. And when you look at the full-service car wash environments, those can range anywhere from $500,000 to more than $1 million a year. That'll put a shine on your windows. Now let's talk about the van conversion business. When I started doing the research into this, I really wasn't sure exactly what that meant. But according to The Economist, so many Americans were impacted by the pandemic that a lot of them are giving thought to giving the van life a try, which basically means ditching your traditional digs and going and living out of a van. Yes, it is a little bit of a different business, but the profits definitely aren't boring. You can actually acquire a van in the United States anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000, put in some sweat equity, and definitely some financial investment too, probably another $25,000 to even up to $50,000 more. But that particular tricked out van, they can be selling for anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000. That's some amazing profit. And last, but definitely not least, is the home cleaning services business. Look at the statistics here. There's more than 3 million people in the United States that work in home janitorial businesses. That's a large number of people. That's more than the entire city of Chicago, Illinois. But Don't let that get you scared, because I know a lot of you are sitting back saying, wait a minute, Edward, that seems like a totally large number of people to have to compete with. But the reality is this, it's really coming down to the niches. There were only about 30,000 carpet cleaning businesses in the United States last year, just as an example. Now, when you take a look at that number and you say, okay, well, how can I carve out my own niche? Well, simply you look into your own community, figure out what needs your community has. And if it comes down to home cleaning itself, you only need about 25 to 30 homes a month to net clear 36 to even up to $100,000 a year, depending on how you service and what you charge for those services. Now that's something you can definitely clean up all the way to the bank. Well, there you have it. Most boring yet best businesses that you can create in 2023. Now I know what you're thinking, Edward, some of those were pretty darn boring, but let me tell you this, they're all pretty darn profitable. And if you are interested in really taking your life to the next level, you're gonna wanna make sure that you check out this video where I'm gonna teach you how to keep more of every single dollar you make.